Okay, this number 30 is on your practice final, I think from the fall of 2022. So how would you go about solving something like this? Well, it tells you to use a half angle formula. So I'm leaving this one for you to solve. Okay, sorry about that. My dog saw a squirrel, so they're outside now. So fingers crossed we don't hear any more noise. Okay, so this is from the practice final. You have the answer for that available to you. And I'm going to do an example where once you see the example that I worked out, you need to go through and be able to do this one from start to finish. Okay, so here's the example that I'm going to do. And it says find sine of 7 pi over 12 using a half angle formula. And I've gotten these selections so they look just like the way these selections were written. So that's what we're going to have to face on the final, and so that's what we have to know how to do. Okay, so the instructions here specifically say to use a half angle formula. Okay, so first thing you have to do, the first trick that you're going to have to do is to rewrite 7 pi over 12. And you can rewrite that as 7 pi over 6 times a half. So seeing that 12 is 6 times 2. And that's the same as 7 pi over 6 all over 2. And so this is going to be the alpha that we're going to use in our equation. So what equation? I need the half angle formula equation for sine. And so let's go over here. And we can see here that we've got sine, this one here. Sine of alpha over 2 is plus or minus 1 minus cosine alpha over 2. So that's the one that I'm going to use. Okay, so I'm going to come back here and I'm going to use sine of alpha over 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of alpha all over 2. Okay, so sine of 7 pi over 12 is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of our alpha, which is 7 pi over 6. Okay, now I have to get this into the form of one of those. Well, the first thing we need to do is what quadrant is that in? Because the plus or minus is determined by the quadrant that this angle is. So 7 pi over 12 is a little bit bigger or more than 6 pi over 12. And 6 pi over 12 reduces to pi over 2. So all I need to know is the angle. So 7 pi over 12, we go a little bit further than pi over 2, or 6 pi over 12. And that's going to be, my washing's ready, okay. That's going to be where our angle 7 pi over 12 is. So 7 pi over 12 is in quadrant 2. Now sine is positive in quadrant 2. So I can now eliminate this plus or minus out the front, and it's just going to be positive, and if it's positive, we don't write anything out the front. So this we eliminate. This we eliminate. Okay. All right. Now I need to find cosine of 7 pi over 6. So where is 7 pi over 6? What quadrant is 7 pi over 6 in? And 7 pi over 6 is a little bit more than 6 pi over 6, which is pi. And so 7 pi over 6, we're going to go a little bit more than the flat angle. So I go a little bit past 6 pi over 6, and there's 7 pi over 6. So 7 pi over 6 is in quadrant 3. Now, what's the reference angle? The reference angle is the angle that the terminal side makes to the nearest x-axis. And so my reference angle here is going to be pi over 6. Because it'll be the flat angle plus the red bit will give you 7 pi over 6. So what do we know about a reference angle? Well, I want the cosine. I need the cosine, not the sine. I need the cosine because I'm using this formula. The cosine of 7 pi over 6 is going to be plus or minus the cosine of the reference angle. Now, what quadrant are we in? We're in quadrant 3, and so in quadrant 3, cosine is negative. And so that's the reason we select the negative one of this. And cosine of pi over 6 is one of our common angles that we have to know. Okay. So now I can come back to this formula, and I'm going to have 1 minus then the cosine of 7 pi over 6, which is in itself negative root 3 over 2, all divided by 2. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to manufacture this to where I can see which answer to choose. So I'm coming in here. These negative signs cancel. Now, when I look at these 3 possibilities here, all of them have 2 fractions inside. So I'm going to separate the inside. So this is the same as the fraction 1/2 plus the fraction root 3 over 2 all over 2. Now, don't ruin it and say the 2's cancel here. They do not. Okay. Now, I'm going to make this, I'm going to rationalize it because I'm looking at my possibilities here. And so I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 2. So why am I doing all of this? I'm trying to see which one of these it matches. So I'm going to have 1/2 plus, now here in the top here in the numerator, 3/2 over 2 times 2, the 2's cancel, and I'm left with the square root of 3. And in the bottom, in the denominator, 2 times 2 is 4. And looking at the possibilities there, if I just swap the order now, I can see that that is matching up with this one. Okay, so if you got one like this, okay, that's what's going to be needed to actually see which ones you get. Okay, you're going to have to rewrite it in this form. So now that you've seen the example on how to do this one here, okay, then hopefully you can work that one out on the practice exam to the correct answer. And just email me if you're not able to. Okay, and so that's going to end this video.